Teaching and learning theories. Key behaviors and helpful behaviors for effective learning. This theory is developed by Gary D. Borick. He outlines key behaviors and helpful behaviors that contribute to effective teaching and learning. Let's discuss what are the key behaviors. It means foundational teaching practices that have a direct impact on students' achievements. Key behaviors are 1. Lesson clarity. Lesson clarity means clear and logical presentation of contents. 2. Instructional variety. Here we use different teaching methods to maintain students' interest. 3. Tasks orientation. Tasks orientation means keeping students focused on learning tasks. 4. Engagement in learning. It means actively involving students in the learning process. 5. Student success rate. Ensuring students experience a high rate of success during instruction. And helpful behaviors are those behaviors which support and enhance the key behaviors. 1. Use students' ideas and contributions. It means incorporating or engaging students' responses into the lessons. 2. Structuring and pacing. Under this behavior, organizing lessons with smooth transitions and appropriate pacing. 3. Questioning. It means asking varied and purposeful questions to stimulate thinking. Probing. Probing means encouraging deeper responses through follow-up questions. 5. Teacher affect. Demonstrating enthusiasm, warmth, and genuine interest in students. So, these are key behaviors and helpful behaviors according to Gary D. Borick theory. Second theory of teaching and learning is G. Agnes' hierarchy of learning. Robert Gainey's hierarchy of learning outlines 8 types of learning. It is arranged from the simplest to the most complex. Each level builds upon the previous one, meaning mastery of lower levels is essential before progressing to higher ones. G. Agnes' 8 types of learning described from basic to advanced. First one, signal learning, basic classical conditioning. Here learners responding to a signal like Pavlov's dog salivating at a bell. We will discuss this Pavlov's theory later. Second, stimulus response learning. It means learning to make a precise response to a stimulus, for example, pressing a button when a light flashes. Third, chaining. Linking 2 or more previously learned stimulus response connections, example performing a dance routine. Next, verbal association. Learning chains of verbal responses, for example reciting a poem or multiplication tables. Then, discrimination learning. It means learning to differentiate between similar stimuli and respond appropriately, for example distinguishing between similar sounding words. Next, concept learning. Here understanding and applying rules that define a class or category, example is recognizing what makes something a triangle. Then, rule learning. Combining concepts to form rules means if a learner understanding grammar rules or math, mathematical formulas. 8th one, problem solving. This is the highest level, and in this type uses rules and concepts to solve new and complex problems. In G. Agnes' hierarchy of learning, each level represents a deeper cognitive process, moving from behavioral responses to abstract thinking. Third theory in teaching and learning is G. Agnes' 9 events of instruction. G. Agnes' 9 events of instruction offer a step-by-step framework for designing effective and engaging lessons. Each event aligns with a cognitive process that supports how people learn best. So let's discuss G. Agnes' 9 events of instruction. First one, gain attention. Here we should use a surprising fact, question, or visual to capture learners' focus. Next, inform learners of the objective. Means we want to clearly state what they will learn and why it matters. Third event is stimulate recall of prior learning, connecting new contents to what learners already know. After that, we have present the contents. After connecting the contents, we have to deliver the material in a structured, engaging way through text, visuals, demonstration, etc. Next event is provide learning guidance. Here we offer examples, analogies, or strategies to help learners understand and retain the content. Illicit performance. It means practice. Let learners apply what they have learned through exercise or activities. Next, feedback. Provide feedback or give timely specific feedback to reinforce correct understanding and correct errors. Assess performance. Evaluate whether learners have achieved the objectives through quizzes, assessments, or discussions. Last and most important event is enhancing retention and transfer. Help learners apply knowledge in new contexts through summaries, real-world example, or follow-up tasks. So all these are the 9 events of instruction according to G. Agnes. 4th theory is field-independent and dependent learners. The field-dependent independent theory, developed by psychologist Herman Witkin, describes how individuals differ in their cognitive processing, specifically how they perceive and interact with their environment when learning. Field-dependent learners. These learners rely on external cues or teachers and the surrounding context to process information. They prefer structured environments and often seek guidance from teachers or peers. They also tend to be socially oriented and enjoying group work and collaboration. The main point is they may struggle with tasks that require isolating details from a complex background. In this case, both teachers and students are active. They cooperate with others. Field-dependent students benefit from clear instructions, collaborative activities, and visual aids. Then, field-independent learners are more analytical and self-reliant. They focusing on specific details regardless of context, and they prefer independent study and are comfortable with unstructured tasks. Excel in abstract thinking and problem solving. May be less influenced by social cues and more task-focused. Here main important is the teacher is passive and students are active. Field-independent students thrive with open-ended tasks, individual projects, and minimal guidance. Then, next theory is Hersey and Blanchard situational model. This theory is flexible leadership framework that emphasizes adapting your leadership style based on the maturity level or readiness of the people you are leading. It's especially useful in education management and training context, perfect for someone like you preparing for competitive exams. This theory contains 4 different leadership styles. Each style is a combination of task behaviors and relationships behaviors, or you can say guidance and support. 1. Telling, we call it as S1. This is best for followers with low competence and high commitment. This is high task-low relationship. Here leaders give clear instruction and closely supervises. Second is telling, or S2. High task and high relationship. Leader explains decisions and encourages but in. This is ideal for followers with some competence but low confidence. Third is participating, or S3. Low task and high relationship. Leader shares decision making. It is suitable for followers with high competence but variable commitment. Fourth one is delegating, or S4. Low task and low relationship category. Here leader hands over responsibility. This is best for followers with high competence and high commitment. According to Hersey and Blanchard situational model, there is 4 developmental level like D1, D2, D3 and D4. D1 means low competence and high commitment. D2 some competence and low commitment. D3 high competence and variable commitment. D4 high competence and high commitment. Here the leader's job is to match the style S1 to S1 to S4 to the follower's development level D1 to D4. 6th theory is Piaget's models of cognitive development. Jean Poch's cognitive development theory outlines how children's thinking evolves in distinct stages as they grow. He believed that children are active learners who construct knowledge through interaction with their environment. Here is a breakdown of his 4-stage model. First one is sensory motor stage. This stage is starting from birth to 2 years. Here learning through senses and actions, for example, touching, looking, and grasping. Key milestone in this stage is object permanence, which means understanding that objects exist even when out of sight. Second is pre-operational stage, from 2 years to 7 years. In this stage, a learner or human develops language and symbolic thinking. Here thinking is egocentric, means difficulty in seeing perspectives other than their own, and struggles with logic and understanding conservation, example same amount of water in different shaped glasses. Third is concrete operational stage, includes 7 years to 11 years. In this stage learners begins to think logically about concrete events and understands conservation's classification and reversibility. In this age they can perform mental operations, but only with tangible objects or events. Last stage is formal operational stage from 12 years and up. In this stage they are capable of abstract and hypothetical thinking, and also they can reason ethics, politics and scientific problems. This age develops skills in deductive logic and systematic planning. So we can summarize that Piaget emphasized that the children move through these stages in the same order. Though the pace may vary, his theory remains foundational in education and developmental psychology. Next theory is Pavlov's classical conditioning theory. Ivan Pavlov's classical conditioning is a foundational theory in behavioral psychology that explains how we learn through associations. Classical conditioning occurs when a neutral stimulus becomes associated with a meaningful stimulus, eventually triggering a similar response. Let's have a look at Pavlov's famous experiment. Pavlov noticed that dogs would salivate not only when food was presented, but also when they heard footsteps or saw the lab assistant. He tested this by unconditioned stimulus. UCS food naturally causes salivation. Unconditioned response UCR salivation, an automatic and learned process. Neutral stimulus bell initially causes no salivation. Conditioning phase. Bells plus food UCS salivation UCR. After repetition bell alone becomes a conditioned stimulus CS. Conditioned response salivation in response to the bell. Key concepts of Pavlov's classical conditioning theory are: first one, acquisition, learning the association between bell and food. Then extinction, if the bell rings without food repeatedly the response fades. Next, spontaneous recovery. The response may reappear after a pause. Then generalization. Similar sounds may also trigger salivation. Last is discrimination. Dogs learn to respond only to the specific bell tone. This theory laid the groundwork for behaviorists and is still widely applied in education, therapy, and advertising. Thank you for watching the video and stay tuned for more updates. Do subscribe and press bell button for more related videos and MCQ practice.